Hey guys, welcome back to the Pokémon Podcast. Almost forgot the name of our podcast. I am Ron, and joining me is my Birdkeeper Toby. You are my Birdkeeper Toby.
I am your Birdkeeper Toby, and you are my True Green 7. And together, this is our Pokémon Podcast.
You know, Toby, normally I would ask how's your day, but I'm kind of thinking about how my day is, or my week, honestly.
Well, tell me about your week. What's going on? I feel like you've been, since pre-recording, you're like ready to unload, to
vent a little bit.
Reveal all. What's going on?
Nothing bad. I mean, it is a little gloomy outside, so that's probably affecting my mood a little bit. But like an actual problem that I'm having is I told you on the podcast that my dad is a videographer. He has his own studio.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a photographer, and he has this wedding photography and videography studio for events like, you know, weddings, bar mitzvahs. And I actually worked for him. I was a videographer during high school and college. And then after I graduated, once YouTube became my full job, I'm like, yeah, you can't really rely on me to be a videographer.
Sure.
Thankfully, when I graduated, my brother was still in college, so he became like a videographer for my dad too. And mostly whenever my dad would need an extra videographer. Because it's just, videographers are expensive. And, you know, when your family has a business, a lot of times you want to help out or whatever. So, you know, they pay you instead of... They'd also be way happier paying their child and financing their child than some random person. Especially since technically I'm kind of the best videographer he has. Yeah, so now that I have my full job, I don't really do anything there. But every, let's say 2 months, especially now that my brother has a full-time job now too, he asks me to, you know, take a little day off, like a whole day off, like let's say 10, 12 hours. And I have to do videography for him. And that's going to happen, let's say, for example, tomorrow. You know, that happens like once every week. And it really sucks when you really, especially when you're a YouTuber, you really...
Oh, yeah.
It messes up your entire week. Like, especially when you're your own boss, like, it's like, now I'm not going to finish the video that I wanted to finish this week. And just ruins the whole mojo, ruins the whole ball that's rolling, I guess. Your whole... mood too. It ruins your mood too, because honestly, I mean, obviously I prefer doing YouTube than videography, at least event videography, because there's a difference. I love videography. It's definitely, I was doing that before my dad. I was in high school. I was the head of the videography club, the video club, and I would just be making videos all the time. So that's my jam. But event videography, dude, that's like a whole nother... That's not even the same kind of career. Sure. It's like the pressure of you have to constantly make sure that you're getting the specific shots that you need. If you miss it, that's it. Can't recreate it. Especially, so 95% of the jobs that we do are Jewish weddings. So there are way more like ceremonial or like ritualistic, you know, religious stuff that you have to catch.
Sure.
Unlike I don't know what, in a Christian wedding, what do you really have to catch? Just them kissing?
Right, yeah.
Obviously, as a videographer, you catch everything. Like a photographer, you catch moments, but videographer, you just roll the entire time. And then you edit it down. But again, let's say, you know, there are times where you cut, or let's say, back in the day, when we weren't using digital, we were using like film, not film, but like mini DVs. Like,
yeah, I know the ones. I use them.
Yeah.
Little tapes.
You would run out of tapes, and you would have to stop for like a minute and replace the tape. And if that's during a key moment, that's a bad problem. And yeah, so there's just way more pressure, and also you're hungry half of the time because you can't just now stop for 15 minutes and eat or something like that. You have to eat exactly when they are either giving the food. If it's a specific, sometimes there are specific like denominations of people that don't give you food. Like, like there's a specific, I'm not gonna like say which kind of group of people in the world there's a group of people in the world that they don't feed you.
What, at the weddings, they're like, you eat elsewhere. This is our wedding.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Nobody thinks that's a correct thing to do. And this is like, that happens like once a year. We do weddings for this kind of group of people once a year.
Right.
And we always know, hey, you have to eat beforehand.
You got to eat before you do the job.
And what sucks is that even when they do let us eat, it's the worst food for some reason. That kind of food, that culture. I don't know what's up. But yeah, and it sucks because when you do weddings, you really do get like biases and stereotypes going in your head because you are like interacting with a whole group of people, like each time with a different group of people. So it's like, oh, I know that this kind of group of person is going to do this kind of thing or this kind of, and it sucks because it really messes with your head and it affects your perception of people sometimes. Or
what do you mean? I'm interested.
Well, let's say, I mean, will it be not racist, but like, because it's not really racism, it's more like culture that I'm talking about. But like, would it be rude to be like to speak ill or of like a specific culture based on how they do weddings or whatever? I don't know.
Oh, okay. So when you say groups of people, I thought you meant like at a wedding, like you're like
not like frat boys
like
or
these Joker types that get married, or like, oh, you mean like different
cultures, how they treat the videographer, how they just do their wedding that affects the videographer. Like, let's say this kind of culture will have better food, or this kind of culture won't, will be stingy and won't pay, or this kind of culture just pays less in general.
Oh, interesting.
Or this kind of culture will have weddings that last until like 5 o'clock in the morning, and like.
And so you've kind of got all these negative experiences, and I'm sure it's very fun, but you're also there like.
It's not fun. That's the thing. So people always assume, oh,
it's not fun at all.
You're going to a party, you're having fun. You're not having fun.
Can you not say to your dad, look, I really appreciate everything you do for me, and I love you so much, but can I not? Because I'm self-employed and I'm working. The difference
is that it's like when he needs me, it means he actually has no other videographer, and it's like, what are you gonna do?
Do you say no to your dad? Yeah, like, that's a hard thing.
Like, and again, when you talk to some people who have like maybe like worse relationships with their parents, or like maybe just don't really interact with their parents a lot, to you they'll be like, yeah, it's no brainer, just say no. But it's like, nah, when you have a close relationship with your parents, and again, I do live with my parents. Like, also,
yes,
it's like, and also, my dad really is an active father. He actually is helping me a lot.
Yeah,
and like,
you're like, the least I could do is go and do this thing, but don't want to have to do it. But
exactly, like he probably does me. So like this happens, let's say once every 2 months he'll need me, and over the course of 2 months, he probably does enough favors that amount to, let's say, 10 hours of working for him. So it's like it works, but it's like it really just messes with your week. The entire week is ruined for me whenever I have to do this job, especially as a person with anxieties. Like, it's like, this is a very anxiety inducing job. It's like a very high pressure, no sitting down, it's very physical too. So like your legs are hurting, your body's hurting.
I've been going to therapy a lot lately, and one of the topics that keeps coming up, and this is not because of even really to do with my parents, just so much that the topic of, you don't owe your parents.
Yeah.
You don't, they do nice things for you because they're your parents, and that's really amazing. And when you say, hey, look, I'm really grateful, and you help them out, and that's meaningful. But you don't like literally owe them. And like, I think if this is like a really anxiety inducing job for you, and not only that, it's not just the one day, but actually it's the whole week because it messes up the week for you. I think there is a conversation with your dad to be had where you could just say, look,
we've had this conversation, Toby. Like, I know you're like, again, it makes sense what you're about to say. And I don't know, maybe you're saying it for the audience too. Like, say what you want to say, actually. Because the audience does need to hear that is good advice, what you're saying.
But what I'm saying is that, there's that conflict between like, oh, it's the least I could do is like a day's work, but it's not a day's work. It's a week's stress. And that may not be realized by your parent. So maybe it's just worth saying. That's all I'm saying.
So the answer is, I've obviously said this a billion times. Like, I talk with my parents. Like, I say what I feel. Sure. I definitely tell them what I feel more than anybody else. So that's not the solution.
Okay,
at least right
fair
now.
Enough.
I don't know if this is difference in culture too. Maybe at least Asian cultures are way more family oriented, and it's like you really just can't let down your family sometimes. But like you have a good family too, so it's like. But I don't know. Maybe there's just different priorities too, based on culture.
Sure, possibly.
But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that's correct. Like, cultures can have toxic attributes too, and positive ones. But yeah,
I'm sorry. It just sounds stressful. I'm really sorry that's happening.
So that's the reason we were recording a day early, but it literally affects the audience in no way.
But it affects you, and it changes the mood of the week.
It actually did affect my video. So this week I was making a very long video. Like, it's the worst week to have this, sprung up on me. I actually cut out like an entire section of the video, like 5 minutes of the video, just to finish the video this week.
In time.
No, it's not in time because again, I make my videos like weeks earlier. Although I am catching up something, I don't know, but lately maybe I've been making longer videos, so like they're taking up more time. So usually I have 3 to 4, let's say 3 videos done ahead of time. But now I only have 1. This is the first time in like maybe 2 years where I only have 1. I'm only like 1 video ahead, which is bad because in 2 months I'm coming over to you, and I really need to be 3 videos ahead, and I don't know what to do. But we'll think about it. That's why it just. But again. The stresses, that's me. I mean, obviously other people would be stressed at this specific time too, but for example, when you said to like my parents, oh, tell them about your stresses, it's like, yeah, but you have to deal with these stresses. Like, it's obviously, I'm not depressed because of this, but I'm just normally stressed because of this, and that's just how life is when you have jobs. Like, when you're an adult, you'll be stressed by the responsibilities that you have. You don't have to now, you have to deal with the responsibilities, but yeah, and it's once every 2 months, so, like, to be fair.
It's the least you can do, I guess, is the feeling. That's just hard. It's just frustrating. You're right. I mean, it is at the end of the day. Like, I'm very often looking for outs to stressful situations. If I'm in a stressful situation, I'm looking for the like, how do I just not be doing this in a way that's healthy and conducive? But there are times that you just gotta, put on a smiley face and do your work. Like, it's not necessarily going to be a breeze, which is, frustrating. Do you have any responsibilities that your parents like put upon you or stuff like that? I mean, maybe not nowadays anymore, but no. Now that I'm sort of moved out, the responsibilities are generally slim. What
about before, like literally a year ago, let's say?
Do you know what? I really don't think there were a lot of responsibilities. It's more a case of that, like, I would never miss, like, a birthday or a Father's Day. Like, we just had Father's Day here in the UK. And, yeah, well, it's fun, but it's also, like... So we had Father's Day, and we had to organise sort of, like, my mum and dad, Phoebe's mum and dad, their lodger, who's just kind of part of the family, my brother, her sister, her sister's wife, and getting us all together at the same time at a restaurant that can deal with the various dietary needs of the entire extended family, and kind of like, and that's on my shoulders. Yeah. And then it comes to like, obviously paying for that, and it's like, oh, this is disgustingly more expensive than we wanted, but this is the only restaurant that can kind of cater for everything that's available that makes everyone happy and doesn't, and all of that. And so, like, obviously things like that, it's like, okay, that's stressful, but that's just life. That's no big deal. And, ultimately we get a really nice day out of it where we get to do something special and different.
Got it.
And so, but I'm usually quite proactive when it comes to like birthdays and Father's Days and Christmases and stuff. I'm really proactive, and like, I just want to know that I'm not going to be worrying about that stress, because usually, like, especially with the holidays, Pokemon games come out in November. So the idea of like coming out of a Pokemon, let's say, game comes out on the 18th of November, and then it's like the 28th of November, and I'm like, right, I should buy Christmas gifts. That sounds awful to me. So I'll buy Christmas gifts in like late summer. I'm in like October. I'll be like, at latest, I'll be like, no, I just kind of get that dealt with. So I'm done with ahead of time. But that's just me trying to be smart about, stresses that are inevitable. I'm never not going to buy my parents Christmas gifts or anything like that,
Do you have to buy your friends Christmas gifts?
Depends on the friend. Depends on the circumstance. Sometimes I'll buy friends gifts just if I happen to be thinking about them and I'm like, oh, they really like this gift. But I don't have any mutual sort of agreements with friends. Like, me and my best friend will buy each other birthday gifts each year, and like other friends that I'm close to, I might buy a birthday gift, but there's no like consistency where I'm like, I bought them one last year, so I have to this year, or anything like that. Yeah. Other than Phoebe, there's no like, okay, I absolutely, definitely, obviously have to. And then down my best friend. Why? What about you?
So, I mean, here at least me and my family, we have Hanukkah, not Christmas, right? And it's like, when you have the gift giving of Hanukkah is basically isn't like a religious thing. It's not like a mandatory part of the holiday. Obviously, the adults are going to give their kids gifts, but it's like giving gifts to your friends and family is not necessary. Usually it's just meals. That's every Jewish holiday. It's just meals, and maybe festivals, the traditions there. But yeah, so it's like it was odd when I started becoming friends with my brother's girlfriend, who is Christian, and seeing how like her stressing about getting gifts during the Christmas season, literally getting everybody that she knows some kind of gift or something. Maybe she's overdoing it, like that family. Maybe they do overdo it when it comes to like holidays and events. But like it kind of also now, this tradition kind of affected my brother, and now he has to do this too. Now he's also stressing about giving people Christmas and Hanukkah gifts too, even though that was never a tradition in our family. I mean, it was tradition for my parents to give us gifts, but that's just like, you know, it's like a birthday gift almost. It's like Hanukkah is when you get like at least as a child, it was when you get like the Wii's and the consoles and stuff like that.
Right.
But you know, I haven't gotten a Hanukkah present for the last 10 years maybe.
Oh, they stop when you're an adult?
Yeah, I guess. I've given my brother and sister Hanukkah presents here and there over the last. I haven't in the last like 3 years, but like a few years ago we did, like, but usually just like a Pokemon figure or a plush. Right. Same thing for birthday too, where like we don't want to have to be obligated to give the other person a birthday gift just because the other person bought them a birthday gift on their birthday. So we just don't. Sometimes we just don't.
I'd always buy my brother, or even if it was just money in a card, like I'd always get my brother something. Mum and dad, we've got an auntie and uncle, and then Phoebe's sister and her wife, I'd always get them gifts as well. And then Phoebe's parents, I might not get the birthday gifts, but I'd get them like a Christmas gift, or I'd say to Phoebe like, hey, you're getting them a birthday gift, can I go in on that? And then I can sort of feel like I've done something. And my grandpa. But other than that,
that's a lot of people. That makes sense.
It is a lot. It is a lot. But it's like that feels right to me. And also, I enjoy getting gifts. So I like to give gifts because I'm gonna get gifts, and then everyone gets something that they enjoy. For me, it's not like a religious thing. Like obviously, it's done at Christmas, but you know,
I don't think it's a religious thing even for Christian, like for devout Christians.
There's really not much. It's entirely like, from my point of view, if someone who was like a Christian said to me like, oh, why do you even bother giving gifts then if you don't, you know, it's not about the birth of Christ for you, like why do you even give gifts? It's like, because buying gifts for people is fun and getting bought gifts is fun. So let's just all agree to do that one day a year. I don't care what you call it. That's a blast. And so we just do that, and we celebrate kind of being a family and being together and being with people we love and sharing nice food. And it's not even really necessarily about the date. Like we've had Christmases where it'll be like the day before Christmas, and we'll just be like, hey, shall we just open up gifts? Like, this has been fun, but like, should we all just do that?
This has been fun,
we'll get to... Yeah, it's been fun. You know, this whole time of year, we've all gone a bit silly with our diets, and we've all, you know, ingested a lot of sugar, and like, this has been good. But can we get back to normality soon? Let's just, you know, eat what we eat and drink what we drink. And also, we have an auntie and uncle who, they don't have kids, right? And they've got a lot of money because they work hard, and they don't have kids. that's the main thing. And so they've always really doted on me and my big brother, which is, you know, incredibly lovely and incredibly like kind and generous, and they don't have to do that every year, but they do. And so we're like, okay, well, let's buy them lots of gifts, right, to compare. And it never compares. They always buy us like 10 times more than what we get them, and we're always like, guys, for goodness sake, this is ridiculous. You're spoiling us. Like, come on, let us treat you to something. But they have everything, so they don't need it. So that we, you know, what do we get them? But we'll never meet them like on Christmas Day. That's usually like, it could be a month before, it could be a couple of weeks before, it could be like a month after. And then that's like a second Christmas in and of itself. That's just like a day where we meet up, have really nice food, swap stories, swap gifts, and the date just doesn't matter in that way.
Yeah. It's crazy because now I think of it, I've never given a gift to my father for that reason.
Whoa!
I don't know. There's nothing he needs that he can't get himself. If I just get him a random thing that he doesn't really want, it's not gonna positively affect his life. Like,
what about food? Food and drink.
He can buy that himself. Like,
sure, like, but you're buying it for him as it's a gift. That's what a gift is. It's
but the thing, the difference, he kind of likes he eats everything. So it's like not like if I get him a food or some kind of food, it's not as special as any other food. It's just food.
There must be things he particularly likes. There must be a brand of drink or chocolate or sweet or something.
It's just a general thing. It's not a specific brand ever. It's more just like, ooh, ice cream. I guess he'll like ice cream more than he'll like eating a carrot. But
right, okay.
but he's not like, this is my favorite ice cream. He rarely ever like has... He really... Like,
interesting.
He has been conditioned to just like every kind of food. So it's like, yeah, he's fine with anything.
What do you buy? Yeah.
And then also like, yeah, in terms of like what he actually would want, like an actual gift, it's things that I wouldn't be able to like pick out myself. It's things that he would know what specifically he wants, like let's say tools or something like that. I would he would be better for him to just get the tools. And also he for the things that he likes, for like the things that he buys a lot of times by himself, he has like his own accounts and like discounts, and it's better for him to just buy the things. It'll be cheaper for him to do that.
That makes sense. I think I'm becoming difficult to buy gifts for because I do that. Like if I want something, I'll just buy it. You know, there is a very niche group of items that exist in this world of Toby would love it, but would just cannot justify spending the money on it. So it's like things like, I don't know, like a sealed boxed version of Pokemon Yellow, or the thing actually this birthday that my best friend nailed it was a Spider-Man suit. Like I've always wanted a Spider-Man suit. I'd never in a million years justify spending the money on a Spider-Man suit. It doesn't matter how much I enjoy it. Fit? Oh yeah, he got my exact measurements. Did I not talk about this on the podcast?
You did, but I just don't remember.
Yeah, it fit. It was brilliant.
I mean, I saw pictures of you in it, but I don't know if it was comfortable.
Oh, it was super comfortable. He got my exact measurements from our personal trainer, including the circumference of my head, which was, and I just didn't question it. Our personal trainer was like, "It's a calorie thing." But anyway, so like, and that's exactly in that category of like, oh, that would be so cool to own, but I would never spend the money on that because that just feels like a little bit of a waste of money. But if someone else wants to buy it for me, wow. And there's only a very niche group of things. And there's only a very small group of people who know those things. So buying me gifts is quite hard, I've realized. Although I'm just happy to have anything. Like, honestly, like a chocolate. I don't even care if it's just like a regular chocolate bar. If you wrap it up for me, I'm like a little kid. I'm going to open it. But what about you? I mean, is that...
It's kind of the opposite for me, actually. I think I'm very easy to buy gifts for multiple reasons. First, because I am very stingy with my own money. I rarely buy things for me unless it's a thing that I think is perfect for me. So it's great when, like, I get gifted a thing that like I wanted to buy, but there was something a little wrong with it, or something that like I it wasn't 100% a steal for me. So it was cool that the other person ended up buying it for me, and then I didn't have to worry about wasting my money on the thing that I didn't 100% want. But also because everybody knows that I love the color green. So it's like they know what color thing to get me, even if it's not a thing that I want. If it's green, I'll enjoy it. But also they know that if anything Pokemon related, just you can get it for on plushes and like figures of like Pokemon or any franchise that I enjoy. I will like getting stuff like that. Anything that I can just put in my room, display it. Even a fake plant, which I have a lot of. It's like you can buy me anything, honestly. For the opposite reason, also, I am not a huge fan of getting gifts because of the anxiety of like, oh, what if they get me the wrong thing, or like, do I have to now pretend like I like it or whatever, or vice versa. What if I get them the wrong thing and they have to pretend in front of me, and I don't know if I'm just not gonna feel comfortable. So yeah, it's the actual gift is easy to get, but giving and getting it is not fun for me.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Oh, I see. I don't know. I'm a child. I just like ripping open the paper and seeing what's inside. Oh, I get to have this. It's really cool.
That's all. Everybody likes that.
So what's the best gift you've ever gotten? What's your favorite?
Best? Let me look around. I mean, does like a TV technically count? Like my dad bought me the TV that I have, but it's not like my favorite gift or anything.
No, sure.
I'm looking around. This is not my favorite gift, so I'm not gonna I'll probably say another thing after, but I'm looking at it right now. My sister got me a Solgaleo action figure,
cool,
for one of my birthdays. And at first, like she always gives me like a Pokemon action figure or something like that for my birthday, and it's like, yeah, it's cool. But for some reason, this specific action figure is literally the perfect Pokemon action figure I've ever seen. It's like, it literally looks like a Solgaleo, and it's like, especially since Solgaleo already looks mechanical, right? So it's like the joints, like the parts that look like an action figure, they look natural, even if they're
okay, cool.
And also it's like so intimidating, and it looks so like, it's like posed perfectly, and it looks so regal and like noble, like on where I displayed it. It's beautiful, honestly. It's a really good looking figure. And then, but like the actual favorite gift, I guess I'm just gonna default to then what my brother, like the best thing my brother ever got me for my birthday, which was like the red Nendoroid with that, you know, those famous like little chibi figures of various anime characters. So it's red, but it comes also with Charizard, Venusaur, and Blastoise. Like it comes with that too. And the Blastoise is literally the perfect model of a Blastoise. All the other, like from the game, you know how like Blastoise kind of looks awkward in the 3D games, like his head is a little too small, a little bulky. And then also, let's say in the anime, or even like in Detective Pikachu, like Blastoise always looks a little weird. Let's say in Pokken, Blastoise is never, like the model of a Blastoise, the 3D model of Blastoise is never perfect. But this model of a Blastoise is literally the perfect proportions, literally the perfect amount of everything for a Blastoise I've ever seen. It sucks that you guys can't see it, but it's like,
I really want to see it. How see, my favorite image of Blastoise is like the Pokemon Yellow sprite, and it's got like really.
No, I hate that.
You hate that?
Oh, where it's like that pose that he's making?
It's got like the long arms, and it's just kind of.
But again, it's like, it's not a perfect proportions for me of a Blastoise. Okay. Like always, the arms are too long. Let's say in Pokken, or they give him a neck for some reason, or in Detective Pikachu, his like toenails are too long. It's like there's always something wrong with Blastoise's model, for me. But this action figure that I have right in front of me on my desk is literally a perfect Blastoise, and it's made
I'm looking at it, and I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
You're just looking at the Nendoroid?
I've Googled it, yeah, and I see exactly what you mean.
Let me look at it, actually. The poses you see online are a little bit weird, but like, nah, some of them are really good. Nah, it like literally looks exactly what I think of a Blastoise, while it never does in the game.
I get you. That makes sense to me. I feel that.
And it's like, it's the little things sometimes. Like, it's not like my brother bought that thing because he thought the Blastoise was awesome or something.
Sure.
It's like just getting appreciation for some things that, the small things that make you happy, I guess, is always a good thing. And I personally love action figures and plushes that are proportionate to the Pokemon. That doesn't mean they have to be the size of the Pokemon. Obviously, I have a Wailord plush. It is not 48 feet. But it is literally the proportions of a Wailord, just, you know, 10 times,
scale down,
100 times smaller, scaled down. It's to scale. But like, for example, like let's say you get like a Groudon plush. It's not going to be, the proportions going to be off. It's going to be fluffy. It's going to look weird. But let's say I have an Oddish plush or a Rowlet plush. Is perfect because it literally looks exactly like a Rowlet in the proportions, but obviously it's a little smaller than a Rowlet. Same thing with a Spheal, like the ball-shaped Pokemon. Those are the best. Those, if you ever want to buy me a plush or something, it's the ones that look exactly like they do. Even if it's not my favorite Pokemon. Like I have a Gulpin. I don't care about Gulpin, but I like this plush a lot because it's literally the same shape of a Gulpin.
One of my favorite. I used to refuse to have plushes unless they were like that, and like my favorite one was Stuffle. Having a Stuffle plush that's the size of Stuffle, that literally has like the tag tail thing on the leg, like super cool. But now I've got these. There's these, you know, these Pokemon Fit plushes or Sitting Cuties.
Yeah, Sitting Cuties are the best.
Oh, they're awesome. They're dangerous because they keep on showing up in the UK Pokemon Center, and there's like, here's 5 new ones, and every time it's like, oh, I really want that. But I actually think there is something about them that is perfect for the world of Pokemon, which is, I think they're very tradable. I think, I've already done this, right, with Candy Eevee.
Really?
Where she's literally bought, she was said for my birthday, she says, I'm gonna buy you some Sitting Cutie plushes, but I was like, okay, that's fine. Can I trade you one of mine though? And she was like, well, I'm just going to get them for you anyway. I was like, no, but let me give you one, because then I love the idea that we've done a trade of a Pokemon. And they are, because they're all kind of cute, and we can all enjoy them for a little bit, but I'm not so attached to any of them that, like, if you came and you were like, I got 10 Sitting Cutie plushes, we could totally arrange a trade for one, and it would be like, oh, that's very cute. You take my one, I take your one, and we've traded Pokemon. And I'd love that, to do that more. Yeah, like, speaking of gifts, like, Sitting Cuties for the last few years are what my brother, my siblings, that's what we do. That's what we give each other, Sitting Cuties, basically. So it's my favorite line of merchandise in Pokemon. And so, yeah, it's perfect because they really just sit down, and they're perfect plushes. They're like, a lot of plushes, they just flop over
well, these ones are the best. But my favorite Pokemon plush that I've ever had is the one that's, again, right in front of me, is this Joltik plush. And again, it literally looks exactly like a Joltik. It's also one of the few plushes that's probably the size of a Joltik. It's like small. And it's like, it literally looks like there's a Joltik on my desk, and it's the coolest thing ever. Because Joltik is also fluffy, so it's not like the material is also weird. It's literally...
Just what it should be, yeah.
I have never been more happy with a purchase in my life.
I have all of the unknowns as plushes.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
Yeah.
And it's such a nightmare, because I never know... like how to display them. Like, it's a cool thing that I have one of each.
You can write whatever you want each week or whatever.
As long as each word only has one letter. Yeah. But
you should get extra E's and S's.
I should. Yeah, I mean, but then that's just excessive.
Just two more.
It's yeah. It's
you know what's excessive? Loxon has every sitting cutie.
He does. I think that's too. The difference between your office and like Loxton's office, for example, you've got this kind of very well catered kind of approach to the way that your office is very well designed. And I really appreciate that and like that. I know Loxton's kind of like just has everything. It's just like, here's everything Pokemon related ever.
I mean, if it's a collection, it's also studios. It's less.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And what I struggle with is that I keep on picking stuff up, and I'm like, there's no space for this. There isn't room where this should go, but I think it's really cool and I want it. And I'd love to be able to kind of minimize my office a little bit more.
I can take some stuff back home with me if you want when I get there.
Yeah, I might send you off with a couple bits.
I have the same problem with fake plants. Like every other week, I'm going to, let's say, a home goods store, and I will purchase some kind of fake plant, even if I have enough. I really do. But once I get like a house, for example, then I can actually put them around my house instead of just in my room. People were wondering, like, I was looking for a house before the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit. And then, you know, the housing market was not stable during the pandemic, so there's no reason to buy a house during that time. And then now we're out of the pandemic, kind of, and the houses, at least in New York, which is like the second most expensive place to live in America, they're literally hundreds of $1,000s more expensive than they literally were a few years ago. It's the highest form of housing inflation I've ever seen in my life. It's literally would be stupid for me to buy a house right now, and then let's say the bubble, you know, bursts in a year, and then that same house is half the price or something. Not that drastic, but definitely way less.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I want to get out of my parents' house and not have to go to weddings, but for now, that's the price to pay.
Yeah,
come full circle.
That's fair. That's a hard one because it goes. We have come full circle actually. Maybe this is a good time to, before I go off on a tangent, to get to some questions. Yeah, why don't we do that?
So we asked you guys to submit some questions. Just comment below on the YouTube channel if you're listening there, or I mean if you're listening at Spotify, let's say, just go to the YouTube video and just comment below. And now, if you want to ask us a question, let's say for us to answer in the next episode, please preface your comment with #Q&A, just so it's easier to see the questions that you have in the comment section, and we'll just answer, let's say 3-4 every episode. We'll try, you know, whenever we can. So I'll start this time. I think you went first last time. So, this is a question that I technically don't have a huge answer for, but it's like a serious question. It's like Vasudev asked us, what are your thoughts on game addiction?
I saw that one. Yeah. Do you have any go-to thoughts on game addiction? Well,
here's the thing. I barely play video games, so it's like I'm far from addicted to video games. And also, in general, I very much do not have an addictive personality. I'm able to not be addicted to things. So it's like,
I think it's like, so there's a sort of like, it's a question that comes with like, what's your thoughts on game addiction? Well, obviously, I think game addiction is bad because addiction of any kind is bad. Like I think the actual question is more like, what do you think about the process by which people go from just being like fans of video games to like becoming video game addicted or something? Like, what's your opinion on video game addiction? Well, obviously it's bad, but any addiction is bad, you know. But like, there are people who can play it's a difficult thing, right? Because if you're an esports professional,
yeah,
you play video games for long hours every day and you train hard, that does not necessarily constitute addiction.
Yeah.
So
addiction is when it literally negatively affects your life,
right,
in other ways,
and it becomes a whole problem, and it's like you can't pull yourself away. And again, obviously bad, but I think that there is, and it's obviously something that needs to be talked about by people who know what they're talking about. That's not me. But
I think high schools should educate more about addictions in general, not just like drug addiction or whatever, because addiction in general is basically kind of the same, at least.
Right.
Yeah, so that's one solution. Also, just, I think some video game companies should be responsible and know about the negative effects of their business practices. But it's like, I'm not educated on that enough to say what companies should and shouldn't do in order to curb video game addiction. I mean, if they're making really good games, that's not theirs. I mean, that's a good thing, technically.
I don't think the responsibility is on games companies.
Yeah, I don't too.
I think there is definitely something to be said for, like, if you are, let's say you are spending money in a video game, and it's like, in the same way that you can have yourself, certainly here in the UK, if you're having an issue with gambling, for example, and you're on a lot of gambling websites, they sometimes come up with pop-ups, or you can get involved in programs where it like bans your IP address and bans your devices from accessing gambling websites. And in that same way, if I was spending like hundreds of pounds on Fortnite every single day, I would like to hope that there would be a responsibility on the part of Epic Games that they could check in with me and sort of, hey, we've noticed that you are in the top sort of 10% of people spending money. We want to make sure that you have all the resources to help that you need in case you are maybe like video game addicted or whatever and throwing your life savings down the toilet. But other than that, like, I don't think the responsibility is on the game company. I think the responsibility is on schools and friends to be educated on, addiction in general, not just video game addiction, but addiction for anything.
I don't know if this was a Pokemon game or Nintendo in general that did this, where it's like they have a message when you're playing too long. Was that Pokemon Go? What was it?
Could have been Pokemon Go. I can't remember.
But that's not bad. But that won't do anything. But at least it will. The problem really is I'm just not educated in the subject. And I mean, it was good to answer just for you to know that I'm not educated in these kind of subjects. Like, if you ask questions like that, please be a little bit more specific. I mean, it's not your fault, obviously, but just so I know if you're asking about the solution or the problem or both. For anything.
Yeah, I'm the same on the same page as you. Like, I could hazard a guess. I could hazard a guess as to like, oh, well, maybe this, maybe that, but like, I'm not educated on addiction in any way, and I've been fortunate to avoid a world of addiction.
I guess that's the point. That's the point of our answer, is that like addiction is a serious thing they actually have to be educated about. So it's like, there's no, even if I had an actual opinion, who cares about my opinion? You have to actually talk about to the experts and people who are actually affected by it. And that's with anything. I'm, in general, like, when it comes to like talking about things that I'm not super educated about or just I'm not passionate about, I'll talk about it, I'll enjoy talking about it, but I'm not going to pretend like my answer is correct. And for that reason, I'm not, like, even like theories, for example, I am not a big conspiracy theory kind of, or conspiracy or theory kind of person. Like, I don't love talking about things that are hypothetical. I mean, I love talking about hypotheticals that actually affect things, but I don't like talking about, let's say, what do you think is going to be the thing that happens in the next Pokemon game? Because, like, I don't know the answer, so I'm not going to talk about it. I don't like speculating
sure.
based on literally nothing. I like speculating based on actual information, but I don't like speculating based on literally anything.
Sure.
Like nothing. But yeah.
I feel that. Well, here's a question that we might have a little bit more success in answering then. From, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Udbav. I'm really sorry, I can't pronounce your username very well. My question for Ron and Toby is, what advice do you have for people going off to college? And I'm assuming by college they mean the more Americanized, going off to college in what we would call university here in the UK.
Yeah. So it depends what kind of field you're pursuing. Like, I can't tell you what to do if you want to become a doctor. But let's start with the most personal kind of situations that I can talk about, and then we'll go to the broader things. So personal, I went to art school. I can tell actual advice when it comes to art school is don't go to art school. Like, because only go to art school if you're there to get connections, which is why you go to art school. You don't go there for the degree. The degree in art literally does nothing. When you go to apply for a job, let's say as an artist or any kind of arts, they don't care about your degree. They care about your work, your portfolio, your reel. Just work on that. And you can do that without going to college. You can literally learn everything you can online. Let's say I went to my art school. Like, it's just the number one problem is that it's just disproportionately way too expensive. It really is unfair how expensive art school is. I went to art school, right? I paid probably triple what my friends who are now like studying to become doctors and lawyers. At least for my bachelor's degree, I paid triple. Like, what the hell? What? How does that fit? How does that make sense? Like, what? Thank God I had an actual job. I had my YouTube job to pay for it, to pay for college. But there's literally no reason to go into $100,000 of debt for art school. I did end up, like, I went to probably the best. I major in art, which is computer art. That's probably the most useful major, I'd say. And I do use like 50% of what I learned, which is cool, but it just was not worth the money.
Yeah, I mean, that's hardcore. Can I ask, when it comes to the college system and art school, when it comes to the money, so are you in debt at the moment, or is that paid off?
I would have been in debt. It's paid off because, again, I was fortunate enough to become a YouTuber.
And you had to literally pay all of that money.
It was worse. I got loans, so I paid more than what it was,
worth. Yeah,
I paid a third more, like 1.3% of what I needed to pay.
It's bizarre. Because here in the UK...
sorry, not 1.3. 100 and 30% more than I needed to.
It's bizarre because here in the UK, my advice is rack up the debt because it doesn't matter, because it's not real debt. Here
okay,
in
we're
the UK,
talking about American colleges, at least for my advice.
Yeah. If you're in American colleges, it sounds awful. Like, my expectation is that I will likely never pay back my student loan, or that my student loan will... if I do pay it, like, if I'm able to pay it back, it doesn't matter because it's proportional to how much I'm earning. So the way that it works here in the UK is that, like, in theory, I'm like 60 grand in debt, right?
Yeah.
But over the last, when did I leave? 2016. Over the last 8 years, I've paid back a couple of £100. Yeah. And after 30 years, it gets written off. So if I continue, and I've lived an okay and well-off life, since coming out of university, and, I pay my taxes, I pay my national insurance and everything else. If that continues at the same rate, yes, I'm 60 grand in debt for the next 20 years, but, or for the next 22 years, but actually, I'll only ever pay back like £1,000. And if I am able to pay back more, like, then it's fine because I must be earning a lot more. So it shouldn't really affect me here in the UK. And I remember it being like a really big thing because when I went to university, they upped the amount of money. They said, hey, it's no longer going to be £3,000 a year, it's going to be £9,000 a year. Now it's going to be more than that, I think. But it didn't matter because you're paying it back at the same rate, and then after 30 years they wipe the debt. They don't want it anymore, or it's fine. And it's not stopped me doing anything. It doesn't, I've got a mortgage, I've got a house. No one has ever looked at my financials and gone, wait, you're in student debt? Oh my goodness, you're 60 grand in debt. I don't feel 60 grand in debt even remotely. I've been able to save money and do all that jazz. UK student loans debt, it's just not even the same. So I guess my main bit of advice is don't go to college in the US. But on a less financial, I agree completely with everything you're saying in terms of don't worry about the bit of paper at the end. Don't stress your heart out trying to get like the best grade possible. Work on your show reel. Make sure that you're building up a side thing.
That's if you're going to an art school.
If you're doing an artistic
this
field,
person could be an engineer.
If you're, if you're like if you want to be an aerospace engineer, maybe you really care about the degree. That's totally fair.
If you're gonna go into a field that is gonna pay off your debt, then dude, go to college.
100%, of course. My main bit of advice, which is hopefully more general to everyone, is don't worry. Everyone else is also worried about what everyone else will think of them.
Yeah.
It is your first time as a sort of adult, a young adult in the wide world, maybe moving away from home, maybe meeting people for the first time, and you're like, it's that first time you've been invited to a freshers event or a first year event, and you're putting on the best, coolest clothes that you've got, and you're like, what do I do? Do I need to smile more? Do I need to laugh a bunch? I got that really good joke in my back pocket, and calm down. Everyone else is in the same boat as you. They are also really worried. That's my main bit of advice. Genuinely, just don't worry so much.
Yeah.
Everyone else is on the same page. And half the people that you'll decide are your best friends in the whole wide world, you'll hate them by the end of uni anyway. So don't worry about it.
Which is weird because it's very contradicting in terms of...
I'm only joking.
A lot of people say that your high school friends are the ones that last forever, and then a lot of people say, no, the college friends are the ones that last forever. I just don't know what the answer is anymore.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, I remember... I just remember every time because I did 2 first years of university at 2 different universities, and in both instances the cliques that were so apparent in first year, and it was like, oh my goodness, these people it's the second week in and they're talking about how they're going to live together in second year and third year, and and you're like, oh, they're going to get married. By the time you get to second year, those people hate each other. They don't like each other, and it's fine. Everyone's so worried about someone what's gonna think about them. Don't force anything, is I guess the main bit of advice. Just go, be yourself, smile. I promise people will like you. I love America. I would love to live in America, right? But the 2 things that you've got there, well, 3 things, I guess. It's your healthcare system, it's the student loan system, which, obviously wouldn't affect me, and then there's the guns thing.
And it's crazy because all the negative things about any culture also stem from the positives. So, for example, those things that you say, those stem from freedom and capitalism, let's say, which could be good in instance. Freedom is definitely good, but
sure,
a lot of people think capitalism is good. I'm not going to say what my opinion is, but it's just more nuanced. Obviously, I'm honestly a capitalist myself, but I'm not.
Sure,
I'm fine with any other system that helps people, but that also has the negative effects of no gun control and no and no healthcare.
Here in the UK, we live in a capitalist society, but we still have.
But the question is that emphasized in your values? Is that UK, the home of freedom and capitalism? It's nah, it's more balanced.
Sure, but the UK perspective on the American, I think. I'm generalizing, of course, is that America, the home of freedom, it's like a meme. It's not but you're not actually, though, are you?
But unfortunately,
you're just another capitalist system.
Fortunately, that's what people think. It's
yeah, I don't know if it's the guns that are keeping people free, though. If anything, seems to evoke a lot more fear. I definitely, it's a silly thing. I just don't get it. There's we should definitely have the gun debate. So
I want to have the gun debate. The question is if it's now or not now.
Maybe not now. No. Do you think people should have guns?
It's just based on where they live. That's the problem with the United States. It's huge.
Yep.
A person in New York shouldn't be making laws for someone in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska or whatever.
Sure.
And a person in the middle of nowhere really should have guns for protecting themselves, because the cops aren't going to come within 5 minutes. A cop, I call them in New York City, they'll be here in a minute. So it's I don't need to have. I don't need to have one, especially in a dense populated area. You don't want to have everybody with guns because people are going to die.
No, that makes sense. See, now that's a very reasonable and reasoned response. I think people are just very passionate about their guns, and I'm like,
but but in order to get a gun, regardless of where you live, you should definitely have. It should definitely be super hard, just like it is to get a car. You should definitely have all the kinds of mental and physical and historical valuations on yourself in order to get one.
Yeah, I think just obviously with me being in the UK, and I'm not I'm pretty well educated in that zone of gun control and that kind of thing, but I'm not you know, I'm not super well educated, so I think if we're going to go there at some point, and if I'm going to give my opinions, I'd rather wait till I've had time to kind of really review my thoughts and reflect on them. I'm fortunate in that I don't really have to so much because I live in the UK, and it's just not we don't have that problem here.
Obviously I've thought about it way more than you, so don't fault Toby for literally having no opinion on it or just not having a concrete opinion yet.
Opinions. I just don't want to share them with the internet yet.
Which is weird because the opposite, like you're a person that literally doesn't matter. You don't affect the laws here, so who cares about your opinion? And why you might as well just say it. I don't know why anybody would be angry about a Brit's opinion on this thing.
Generally speaking, I think less guns is good. And I think that's but that's a generalization, right? And
but who cares what you think in terms of whether or not America
people care, right? Though people are
I don't think you should. Whoever's listening, I literally do not think you should care about whether or not Toby likes guns or not. It literally makes no difference in your life.
Have I told you about this? Like I'm too afraid to drive because I think I
was also too afraid to drive, but no, you haven't told me.
Oh, I will not get a license, and I will never drive because I am confident that I'd make a mistake and that I could risk injuring someone. And so for me, I think and that's not like, you might be like, oh, you're being over worried. Yeah, I'd rather be over worried when it comes to potentially running someone over, which I think would be a likelihood for someone like me, just because I am so discoordinated and clumsy. So I just think it's better to play that safe.
And again, America really does focus on cars. Like other countries, let's say Japan or like a lot of other countries, they don't, 40% of people don't even have licenses or something because, there's a lot of good public transportation.
Yeah, we have that sort of around the UK as well.
Like in Manhattan, like in New York City, I'm assuming, a lot of people have their license, but only, let's say, not a lot of people have cars because, again, New York has really good public transportation, at least relative to the rest of the UK, the America. But, my point is that we live in a society. That's not. I was saying that actually seriously. We live in a society where we are connected to all these different countries, and we know politicians from different countries and the laws and things that we really do not need and shouldn't have to worry about and be anxious about. But we are, and that's the problem.
But no, I mean, we are all, at the end of the day, we share a planet. Like we are all interconnected, and the things that happen in the US do affect the things that happen in the UK and vice versa.
But not gun control. Gun control does not affect the UK. But
you should definitely know. You could probably make an argument that it does. I couldn't make the argument that it does because I don't know enough about that. But
true. Same thing. I may be saying something really stupid right now.
Yeah.
But I would. Yeah, you should definitely know about United States politicians and at least the higher ups, and also UK because they are affecting the rest of the world. But let's say I don't need to know what's the Prime Minister of Zanzibar. I don't think that's a thing. but I mean, it's good. I am a big fan of geography and history and stuff, so I think it is good to know. It's weird. I don't know why I didn't comment about your car thing when I also, the fact is I have driving anxiety. I've overcome it slowly, but I am relatively anxious when I drive compared to everybody else I know. So I get your anxiety when it comes to driving. I'm always like, I could literally die. Literally, whenever I make a turn, I'm like, I could literally die right now. But
I just, as a kid, obviously sitting in the back of a car and being like, oh yeah, this is, I guess this just makes sense. Everything's moving in unison. Like it's all this big sort of beautiful living organism, the road with all its various cars. And then as you're an adult, you're realizing, wait, no, this is happening because the parents are pushing the pedals and steering the wheel, and that like if they just made a mistake at any point, like that could be devastating potentially.
There's a lot of parallel processing where you're doing things that you aren't even noticing you're doing when you're driving because you're already so used to it, like signaling, like just controlling the gas pedal, looking for pedestrians and other cars. It's like you're literally doing 4 things at once without noticing. And if you by mistake just forget to do one of those things, there may be consequences.
My mum always told me growing up, when you're getting into a vehicle, you are getting behind the wheel of a weapon, because that is what it can be. And so there's a level of responsibility with that comes with that. And obviously, the agencies in place to make sure that you are responsible to do that are your theory test and your driving test, and your instructor will be very, failing your driving test here in the UK, most people fail at least once.
I failed once.
It's like a really normal thing because they got to make sure that you are on it when you get in a car, which is fair enough. But, I don't know. For me, it's like I'm a clumsy person, and even if I pass my test now, the idea that I wouldn't make a mistake. I mean, man, I watch my dad drive, and I'm like, Dad, you should not be driving. Like the amount of things where he'll pull out of the driveway oddly. He's got a very odd way of doing that, and I'm just like, Dad, what are you doing? Like, is that safe? I don't know.
I mean, you don't know. You don't drive. You don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's true.
My parents are actually really good drivers, and that's the problem. Is like they're very not anxious about driving, and I am. So it's like to them, it's the opposite. To them, the cars aren't huge murder machines. Well, to me, they kind of are. But we get it. We've been talking about weapons a lot today.
Yeah.
Let's talk about animal weapons.
Pokemon.
Let's generate a Pokemon. Please be good.
I'm really hoping we get Blastoise because we were talking about Blastoise earlier, and it's a weapon. Well, what was it?
It's Carkol.
Carkol! It's a car!
Oh, that's actually hilarious.
It is a car. It's a giant hot car murder machine.
But it's like, again, another Pokemon that's not good for the thumbnail. But this is funny.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we can't do it. I was about to say, well, didn't we say we can generate? No, that's 1 in every 10 we can generate. That's 1 in every 10. That's not we don't want to waste that now. We gotta use the Carkol.
Carkol. Definitely slightly below average, in my opinion, as a Pokemon.
Sure. Yeah.
I like the concept a lot. It's just a bit unnaturally designed. Everybody would have preferred if it became like a train, for example, instead of Colossal. But I actually am a huge fan of Colossal's Gigantamax form. I think that's what like the normal form should have looked like, at least on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely satisfied with the line at the end of the day. But Carkol is one of the weird Pokemons to me. I like him though. He smiles. If he smiles, I like him.
I agree. I really like. It feels like kind of an unnatural middle stage there, because like I think Roly-Coly's so cute. I think it's like a really cool Pokemon. It's really unique. I mean, obviously it's just another Geodude Rock and Roller, right? But it's like it's got its own gimmick to it that's kind of very unique and fun. And then like obviously it becomes this big bestial Colossal. But the in-between phase just feels wrong. Like they double down on the wheel thing, and just given where it's going to end up, I think it should have been a bit more creature-esque, a little bit closer to like Leiron or something like that.
I never thought of it. I always thought about, this would have been perfect. Carkol is perfect if it became a train, but I would have been like, I should have thought of it, it would have been perfect if it looked more like Colossal. But it's funny because, now that I think of it, Boldor is a really good second stage. Like, Boldor's a
yes, it is.
I like Boldor a lot. Very natural looking. But yeah, Carkol, I get it. It has a nice, it's like interesting. It's a very interesting Pokemon, and that's at the end of the day, it entertains me, and that's what I want from a Pokemon. I think everybody else, I'm gonna put my ideals on everybody else, but I think that really is what you should try to get from a Pokemon, just entertainment, whether it be from its competitive, how it acts in competitive, or its design, or just the concept. If something entertains you about it, that's fine. That's a good Pokemon.
It was definitely when I first played Sword and Shield, like I picked up Roly-Coly right away. I was like, I need to have this Pokemon on my team. And I don't think they revealed, they may have revealed Colossal, but I don't think they revealed Carkol ahead of time. So that was, it was like one of the few kind of surprising evolutions. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool, like while playing.
I don't think they revealed Colossal before, because I remember seeing the leak of like the trainer guide and seeing Colossal for the first time on Reddit. Right, yeah. I was looking at leaks. I was an idiot. But, yeah. But here's what's funny is that this is actually a good question to ask you. So, for example, I think it was Generation 7 that started really heavily creating designs that are heavily associated with the region itself. Like Gen 6, there's some French Pokemon, but it's not like every Pokemon in Gen 6 is French. But, like, Alolan Pokemon, half of them are very Hawaiian. But the thing is that to make Hawaiian Pokemon, it's very easy to make them natural, because Hawaiian themes and concepts are relatively natural. Flowers, leis, stuff like that. While UK Pokemon, so Gen 8 Pokemon, they're very heavily UK, a lot of them. But UK isn't a very natural place. So a lot of the themes in the UK are, let's say, coal.
Industrial and
whatever Mr. Rhyme is. So it's like, those will look a little awkward, at least to some. What is your opinion? Do you like the UK theming?
No, I agree with you. I don't like it's fun when they can make it work, but I think you're right. Like there are Pokemon like that where I still like thinking of Pokemon as creatures that exist in the field out there in the real world.
Yeah.
And when you look at Carkol, unequivocally, it's like that would never exist in... It wouldn't exist in real nature, let alone how the heck does this fit in a fantasy world where most of the other creatures don't have wheels, you know? It just feels so out of place in that respect that I don't... Within the context of, like, Galar the game, Sword and Shield, yeah, okay, it's fine. But within the wider context of the Pokemon world, it's going to struggle to kind of fit in, I think.
When I see Pokemon like this, I think of it the opposite way, where it's like the humans based whatever, you know, carts of coal on Carkol. People based ice cream on Vanilluxe. People based Mr.
Sure.
You know, I don't know, Charlie Chaplin on Mr. Rhyme. but like, so it wasn't the opposite. Like, just like in the real world, we based, let's say, planes on birds. We based things on the natural world. You know, there are a lot of things that are designed to mimic things that happen in real life. Like, I don't know, like even like when we're designing a thing to work with the, I don't know, the Fibonacci sequence or the golden ratio or whatever, that's a natural ratio that happens in plants, let's say. So it's the same thing, I think, in the Pokemon world. So I'm able to justify it. I think people invented wheels because they saw Carkol and they're like, oh, that makes sense. Let's make a wheel.
I tell you what, I didn't mind it so much with Roly-Coly, and I think it was because it was just the one wheel. Yeah. I think the fact that it becomes 4 uniformed wheels, it's
they're
like...
not uniform, but yeah.
Well, you know, they're in line, they're in parallel. In line,
yeah, they're parallel.
They're,
well, to be fair, limbs are parallel. That's every limb.
Sure, I just don't like... Because Colossal has then just regular limbs, it just feels so jarring, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of Pokemon designs, it's not the design itself, it's just the what it becomes, or the evolution, for example, or the concept.
I think I wouldn't have been so bothered if Carkol had like a single Roly-Coly style wheel at the center of its chest, and then it had limbs that it like pulled itself forward on and then kind of kept rolling as a sort of transitional phase between the two. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that could have been quite fun. Like when you're like a kid and you lie belly down on a skateboard and then like swim along the floor and then gliding around. I could see that being something, but I don't know. It's a bit out of place.
Yeah, I definitely would have enjoyed it if the face was lower and on the cart instead of above the cart.
Yes. And I think that Colossal is a really fantastic Pokemon, and very much it's the, because it's like it was odd that they never gave Tyranitar a Gigantamax form, given the kaiju theming that's there. Yeah, and Colossal is kind of like, it's the Colossal. It's the Gigantamax Pokemon almost. Yeah. And so it kind of takes that kaiju like role. Can I put Colossal in the thumbnail instead? Shall I just do that? Let's do that.
We'll do it, but if the comments say wrong move, Toby, then
it's be on my head.
It'll be on your head, and we don't do it again. But I mean, we have done it already, where we put a Pokemon that wasn't generated in the thumbnail. We will do that a lot in the future, but it's different when it's like just putting the other Pokemon in the line. That may be cheating.
For the evolution, but nah, I don't care about cheating. It's
because then eventually we will run out. What if we get Roly-Coly one time? I mean, then we'll just put Roly-Coly in the thumbnail. But let's say we get Colossal.
We put G-Max Colossal. We got time. We're fine.
You're right. Okay, it's different if the evolution has a different form. That makes sense. That actually does make sense, because then we can put the other form in the thumbnail if we do generate the evolution.
Do you think they know that we make these rules up as we go?
Don't tell them.
Don't tell them. You can't say. I like Colossal. I think it's cool. I'm
underwhelmed by it, but I definitely still have a relatively positive opinion on it. Do
you have a Pokemon? This is kind of a sidestep, but do you have a Pokemon? Like, for me, Eldegoss is one of my favorite Pokemon currently, because it's very like, because Turfield, where you'd find Eldegoss, is like inspired by a location that's sort of 10 minutes down the road from where I live, and seeing dandelions is a very common like UK thing, and like feasibly, if I grew up in the Galar region, I would have an Eldegoss because I just proximity of where I live. Like, I'd have one. Do you have like a Unovan version of that?
Well, the problem... No, I should just knock my... The problem with that is that a lot of the like the explicitly like New York based Pokemon aren't like the best, or at least in general opinion. Like Conkeldurr, I like Conkeldurr a lot actually, but Conkeldurr, you know, suck and throw. I mean, they're the ones that are very just uncanny. Those are the ones that are Unovan. But let me think for a second, actually. Okay, I'll just bring up my list of favorite Pokemon and see if there's a Unovan Pokemon there that is very American or New Yorker. What is the adjective of New York? British is technically an adjective, but what's New York?
New Yorkish. New Yorker. It's just a New Yorker.
New Yorker is a noun.
Well, hang on. What's the difference?
British can also be an adjective. So British food.
Sure.
British band.
You get New York pizza.
Is New York an adjective? New York is everything. New York is life.
New York.
Favorite. Let me look at my favorite Pokemon.
I'm trying to think like Pokemon that you would feasibly have. That's the thing. A lot of the Unova Pokemon. You're right. There's such a difference between modern generations and past generations in that with Unova, like so many of them are like the Gen 1 kind of reimagined. That actually there are a lot of them that their identities are quite separate from the region. Where obviously like now it's like the identities are so heavily tied to the region for the majority of Pokemon.
Yeah, there aren't many New York-inspired Pokemon in Unova, and the ones that are just not the best. But I mean, maybe I'll just say an American. Like for me, the things that bring me that like my version of that is not the Pokemon; it's more the locations. Like, oh, that location is based on somewhere that I can go to, and then I'll be attached to that location, but not to the Pokemon.
What? Give me what's the example? Because I have that with Turffield.
Like I have that with Nakareen City, for example. Like I said before, with it's based on Dumbo, and Dumbo's a cool place to go. I really like going to Dumbo. Or for example, Nuvema, the hometown in Black and White, is literally based on where I lived for the first quarter of my life.
Whoa, that's cool.
It's my home. It literally is my home. It was my first home. Is where Nuvema was.
What? So that's so cool. So what Pokemon live around there? I'm
Lillipup, Swaddle. Is there Swaddle there? Yeah, I like both of those Pokemon a lot. But let me look. So the only Unova Pokemon that are in my top, let's say 30, are Samurott, which is definitely not an American-based Pokemon. Archeops, which is not an American-based Pokemon. Excelgor, which is not an American-based Pokemon. And then Zebstrika, which is African. So, and Haxorus. None of those are based on America. Oh, and Volcarona. Volcarona is, I think, one of my favorite Pokemon ever. So, but okay, Volcarona. Okay, I have. Okay, all right. Here's actually. All right. I have an answer. It's not the ones that are based on New York. It's the ones that are based on, let's say, something from Jewish culture or mythology.
Okay.
Volcarona isn't explicitly based on one. Like, they haven't confirmed it, but it has 6 fiery wings, which is very heavily associated with the Seraphim, the angels with 6 fiery wings, and Volcarona was literally seen as a deity. So I think I am slightly attached to Volcarona even more, even though I think Volcarona already is an amazing Pokemon. I'm slightly more attached to it based on that slight Jewish origin. And then, I mean, like...
and you know what? Yeah. You know what? In Nuvema Town, if you go left, you get to Route 18.
Oh, that's
get a Larvesta egg.
Say it again. You can get what?
You get a Larvesta.
That's where you get a Larvesta egg?
Yeah. In Black and White too. You get if you surf to Route 18.
Yeah.
Because it's like Route 1 and then it's like 17 and 18.
That is one of my favorite locations in a Pokemon
really cool.
game. Imagine you literally go back to your hometown now that you have surf and you encounter a completely different route near your hometown. That is so cool. And one of the best routes. It's such a well-designed route. 2 routes, technically. Like a route with currents and then a route with this cool like island that is I love.
And you can catch Tropius out there, which I know you love. This is it, man. This is your home in the Pokemon world. It's just
really is
town and that area.
Even though it's not my favorite location in all of Unova. Like I have so many places in Unova. But yeah, that is one of the best.
your Larvesta is like, that's your guy, that's your mon. It's a Volcarona, and that's a sick mon. Like, Eldegoss is fine, but it's like, you know, it's an Eldegoss.
I'm an idiot. When I made, go watch it.
You did.
For some reason, it underperformed that video, even though it was a amazing video. I made myself as a champion, and I put Volcarona on my team because my theme was light. And yeah, even though my ace was Luxray, Volcarona is my bay.
I feel that. That's so you see. Don't get me wrong. I really like Eldegoss, and I don't know. Maybe when I hit 30, I'll rebrand to Elder Toby because 30 is ancient at that point, and Eldegoss can be my mascot. But like, I really, it's nowhere near as cool as like it's not as cool as a Volcarona. Although shiny Eldegoss is really nice. I wanted to do. You said that about the champion video. That obviously like kind of that's like a whole genre on YouTube, right? Is the like my Pokemon Gym?
Well, I think it's died off since I made my video because nobody watched it.
Completely died off, right? But here's the thing, though. I did my Pokemon Gym for every single type. I did my Trial Captain, I did my Elite Four, my Champion, my Battle Facility, all of that stuff. And it became a bit of a series on the channel and people knew about it. And that was in 2017. We have had 2 generations of Pokemon since then by the time Scarlet and Violet are out. Ooh. So I'm like buzzing for next year because next year I'm going to do the whole series again. I'm going to get ultra creative with it and I'm going to have 2 whole new generations of Pokemon to work with. I'm like really excited about it.
You know what? I have a feeling, this is the only time I speculate on things. I have a feeling that we won't have 8 gyms in...
Oh yeah?
I think we may have something like a gym, not as different as like Trial Captains and Totem Pokemon, but like maybe like 5. Like 5 different locations. That way it's easier for them to program them to be less linear because you're supposedly going to be able to encounter these gym leaders at different points of you can choose which one to go first, and that means they would have to give them like 5 different teams, for example, right? Or scale the teams and give them completely different teams. I don't know how it's going to work. It would be way harder with 8. I think they're going to do 5 or 6 or just less than 8, but hopefully 8. We'll see. I may be completely wrong.
I'm so excited to see what they do with this game. The idea of challenging gym leaders in any order, challenge runs, and like the lore basis as well. Oh my goodness, there's so many things I can reimagine. Like, okay, so what if all gym leaders of Kanto were like first gym leader? Or like, what if you know what I mean? Like, there's so much that could be talked about. It would just change the dynamic of everything in the Pokemon world. I'm excited.
It's going to literally be the most replayable Pokemon game if that's the case. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I just hope that there's not like a terribly long tutorial to get through, like, or that I could just dupe a save file somehow. Like,
well, technically, you know, Breath of the Wild has a 2-hour-long tutorial, you know, but it's fun.
Oh, it's super fun. Linear corridor of mashing.
So maybe perhaps they'll do it like that, where it's like it's gonna be like a 2-hour-long tutorial, but you can do it however you want, because it really should not be like it was in Legends Arceus.
Yes, I was watching Dan play that for the first time, and he was just like he's really enjoying it now. First hour 45 minutes, he's just standing there like, this is ridiculous, like absolutely bonkers how long it takes to get through.
So that's why. And listen, I actually think the Ultra Sun and Moon tutorial is really good. I am a fan of it. I'm a huge fan of the trainer school in Alola. It's an actual challenge in Ultra Sun and Moon. And I've never lost to the first boss of any other game that I can think of. Yeah, I've never lost to Brock. Wait, have I? Maybe I have, actually. But that's different. That's everybody's like first challenge.
But this is the trainer with the Magnemite, right?
In Ultra Sun and Moon, she has, I think, either a Magnemite and the starter, but definitely the opposite starter that you have. And it's tough. And also just the other trainers are normal trainers right in the beginning of the game. Like, they're not like early trainers that have just one weak Pokemon. They'll have like an Alolan Meowth or a Alolan Grimer, and it's not as easy as like a Lillipup or a Sewaddle, you know what I'm saying? Like those are interesting Pokemon to have in the first few trainers that you're battling. So yeah, I think it's a well done trainer. It's the best trainer school. All the other trainer schools, you just go in, some of them don't even have a battle. You have one battle maybe, and it's an easy battle. So I don't know. I don't know why people complain about the trainer school in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon.
Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon in a really long time is that the entire game is a tutorial.
Yeah, that's
that's the issue I have.
But that's not the tutorial. That's just hand holding. But in certain terms of tutorial, I don't think Ultra Sun and Moon at least has a bad tutorial. Maybe Sun and Moon, but like because there's literally no battling for the first hour, that's a terrible thing to do. But no, Ultra Sun and Moon I am a huge fan of, and it's crazy that this is the first Pokemon that we randomly generated, and we only talked about Pokemon the entire time. We didn't like go into a different kind of topic, and I think let's keep it that way. It's a good time to end.
Yeah.
Any announcements? No. Graduating? I don't know.
Let us know your announcements and questions in the comments.
Congratulations.